Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned high performance coach. When odds are stacked against us, how do we shift and create everything from nothing? How do we level up when we aren't feeling it yet or we've had a big setback? On this podcast, I'll be talking to some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on this planet who, at their worst, learned how to achieve success greater than they ever dreamed possible, leveling up and creating everything from nothing. Overweight and feeling lost, my friend, mom of three, Carol Elizabeth, found herself in a spot she didn't quite expect. She was in her mid-30s and she felt that she had lost herself and didn't quite understand why. I mean, after all, she was supposed to be happy. She was living what looked like the dream and what appeared to be a happy family life. But deep down, she felt something was missing and she felt like she wasn't truly living her passion or her purpose. Going through a divorce was painful as it happened, but she quickly learned the why. You see, it was that event that helped her turn her pain into purpose. Starting out by controlling her thoughts, her actions, and ultimately her diet and her movement, she started shifting into a whole new Carol. Thriving in her new body, mind, and spirit, she decided to take yet another leap, stepping on stage to compete well into her late 40s. And she turned that into multiple successful businesses. Defying the odds, Carol became a network marketing millionaire, champion fitness competitor, coach, and host of the ever-successful podcast, So Much More. Please welcome my friend Carol Elizabeth today and hear how she continues to level up and create everything from nothing. Carol, thank you so much for joining me and being here. I love it when I get my friends to come on and share what they've created, how they've created everything from nothing.
Oh, my pleasure. I just love that we're doing this together. It makes me smile to think of the journey.
Yes. So a little background, guys. Carol is a friend of mine, but we literally met online years ago and our lives have really paralleled each other. We've got similar rock bottom journey of how we got into fitness and nutrition in the space there. And then we have a similar story on how we started creating more outside of fitness and nutrition. But I want to dive specifically into Carol's because Carol, I've been dying to get into your mindset of like how you did things and like how you were able to change your mindset and create what you've created over and over again. Are you game with that?
Sure, let's do it.
Yay. Okay. So people look at you right now as this incredible success. They see your podcast is thriving. They see you online with your challenges, successful in, you have a few different businesses that you're running successfully. And I know, and I'm about to share with everybody here, that it was not always like that for you. You've had a lot of bumps along the way. I'd love for you to take us back to who you were when I met you before you were hitting it so successfully in business.
Yeah, it's just so funny that this is even where we're at right now. But when you and I met, it was really kind of a rebirth for me that I didn't even know that I needed or wanted. I mean, in my life, like backing up, I had a great upbringing and I always just did enough. I was a gymnast and I only just did enough. And I quit when I was, seeing any success in that because boys and teenagehood. And then I went to university. I'm up in Canada and I always just did enough to get by. And then I spent some time doing nothing. And then I wanted a degree and I just did enough. And then I got jobs where, again, I just did enough. I never pushed myself. I never knew what I was capable of. I was really just kind of chilling. And my main goal was to be a mother. And I remember at 27 years old writing in a journal, I'm 27 and I don't have a boyfriend. And how am I going to have any babies? And looking back, I recognize that was my first time I started journaling and manifesting because here I meet this guy and, quickly started dating, marriage, babies, and I had 3 kids in 3 years and I really put everything into that and I lost myself in every aspect of health and mindset. And I always used to say I'm fat because of my kids, and everyone would, the other moms, we'd all be like, yeah. And then I'm like, no, I'm just making horrible choices. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm not doing anything. And so I had a moment when we met or before we met that, okay, happiness must come with the abs. Happiness must come with the bodies of the people I'm looking at in the fitness magazines. So I set on a journey to get that body. That was the intention. And I started changing how I ate. And then I did a bucket list fitness competition. So when we met, I had gotten the body. I had started to do some fitness competing. I had gone through a divorce. I got to a point of a place where I thought I was supposed to have happiness, but I still didn't have it.
So, okay, so back up just a minute because I want to make sure I really understand this. So, 27 is when you kind of put this initial vision in place of this is what I think I want. I want to be married. I want to have kids. You dove full into that life. You got married, you had the kids. And so what type of a span was it where you felt like you sort of lost yourself?
Really at around 32, 33, 34.
Okay.
I just was, doing all the mom stuff and trying to keep up with the Joneses. We lived in a neighborhood. It was really financially, wealthy. You had to have all of this stuff. You had to have the nannies and none of it felt right to me. And I just really pulled into just being a mom. And I love my kids, but I remember having this moment where I felt really guilty that I wanted more than just being a mom. And I didn't really get that then. That's kind of a recent.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know people listening can relate to that. Like you feel like not complete or not happy and you feel like, but I should be because I am a mom and I am married and I've got all these things. And it's like that emptiness is just lurking.
I felt horrible that I thought that I wanted more. I felt really horrible. I really, that's probably one of the reasons I was eating a lot of food too and just kind of numbing it out. Like, no, this is great. You get to sit on the couch when they're napping and watch Days of Our Lives. Like, why would you want any more? So I just kind of stuffed those feelings away.
Yeah.
Not knowing about inner callings or intuition.
It's so interesting because there's a lot of women that do this and it's like the secret. They don't share that they're feeling this way. So they all think they have to act a certain way, right? But there's a lot of women going through that at that time.
Well, I mean, we think that that's what, all of these check the boxes off. I've got a marriage. I've got a kid. I've got another kid. I've got a house. I got and all of the things that we think are tied to what we're supposed to have. And God forbid we think differently or that shows up a different way for us, right?
So, okay, you end up in a divorce. Yeah. So now you become a single mom. Like, as you said, you've gained weight. You sort of lost your way. Were you working during all of this or no?
I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mom for 11 years. I started the fitness journey, while I was married. And then I really the fitness journey was my foray into personal development, which is funny because when I started competing, I would go to the gym for the kabillion hours that you need, that, is part of that world. And I would literally Google fitness girl motivation, to which pops up like horrible videos of girls doing things in the gym in like bikinis, which is so wrong. But on top of these images was sound bites by Les Brown and Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas. And I didn't know at the time who they were, but I would hear these messages. So I started to not look at the bodies, but ingest that kind of information in my mind in the gym. Yeah. So I didn't know what I was doing then. I was still trying to just get the booty and the abs.
Yeah.
But I was working my brain.
Let me ask you some questions about that because I know there's people listening that are in this spot. Like maybe they feel like they've lost their way too. And whether it's the same situation or not, they've lost their way. And now the gym seems really intimidating. And I remember what that felt like. You're overweight. You don't have friends working out. You've been so out of the loop on it. How did you shift your mindset to even get in there and want to focus on your body and look up fitness videos? Like, how did you get that motivation? And how did you decide to get out of your head and just go and do it?
You know what? So I knew I had to be around some other people that were going through it. So I joined a small boot camp. And I really believe that was a game changer for me because not only was I sucking wind and not being able to do a push-up, the other women were the same. And really that was kind of, again, looking back, my first feeling of tribe and saying like, we can do this together. And we would show up for each other, sometimes more than you show up for yourself. So I guarantee that was the reason that I was able to make myself a priority for that because it wasn't just about me because for real, going to the gym and not knowing what to do and thinking everyone's looking at you. Now I know nobody is because we're all so into ourselves. We're not looking at what anyone else is doing. But it was finding a group program of other women that were looking for the same, goals as me at that time that really was a key to me keeping going and seeing.
Wow. So, and I love that you just said that because this is a theme that I'm predicting is going to come up. It's about that connecting and having a tribe and having a group because so many times when women are depressed or in that mode, they do check out, they become introverted. They isolate, which makes it even worse.
Well, we all think we're the only one. We all just tell ourselves all the stuff that we're doing wrong and all the ways that we're failing. And we think that every other human's got their crap together and we're the only one that doesn't. But we're all, when you get raw and real, like you are here and you and I did, when we first met, you're like, oh, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah. Okay. So then you take it to a whole nother level. You decide you're going to do fitness competitions, which is just a whole nother level. Like, what made you decide that? How did you get the courage to do it? And why? Like, I want to know that. And then why did you decide to get out of it? Give me all that.
Yeah, it's such a cool evolution. I mean, I ended up really getting in amazing shape. And I had somebody, give me a bucket list. Why don't you step on a stage? And back then, so that was almost 10 years ago, really. Actually, it was 10 years ago, like next spring, I was like, well, I'm never going to jump out of an airplane as a bucket list thing. So maybe I'll throw a bikini and some fake tan on and run across the stage. And funnily enough, like my very first show, I had so much pride in myself. I was so proud of myself. I had no expectations. I strutted across that stage with some friends. I met a photographer. He came backstage and showed me a photo of me. And I was like, who is that? And I was so proud. I just was like, can I wrap my minivan in this photo? Like, I don't need anything else. And so I had all this pride and loved myself then. I didn't place, I didn't have any of that, and I didn't have any expectations for that. And so then, what happens is, well, let me do another because I learned a little bit. And I spent the next year competing like 8 times. So I was still in my marriage. I was still an at-home mom. So I had some time in between. But then I got sucked into the whole, what's like, my shoulders are better than hers. Why am I not getting placed?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because how did that make you more confident versus like I think of like competing right now and I don't know enough, but I think of it as like, wow, now we're like subjecting ourselves to so many opinions and judgment and critique. Does that make you feel worse about yourself or did that actually help you feel better about yourself?
Well, it's an interesting world and there's kind of 2 sides of it. And I'm super grateful for the time I did compete and I may still compete at some point. So what happened was I had this moment where I didn't get the top 5. I went through a phase of starting to kind of place. I won like first place when I was the only one in my height class. Like, yay, me. And social media wasn't quite what it was then. It was still new. So I had this like, oh, I'm enough. And started seeking that and seeking approval of these other people and starting to have to look at my body in a different way. Like, oh, I don't have a naturally small waist. So I'm going to have to get these giant shoulders to balance it. And then I had a moment where I didn't get in the top 5 and I was backstage with a girlfriend I met through the industry. And we were like, angry women. And then I said, wait a minute, like what are we really putting the weight of our success, our self-worth, our happiness in these 5 men and their opinions of us at this moment? Like we've accomplished so much. And so we like banded together. And I really was that moment that I had just an inner self-talk of, I'm amazing. I don't need a trophy or a title to make me feel better or worse. But I really knee deep in the industry. So I was wanting the sponsorships. And really that's when you and I met, right? Like I was like, oh, we had the great photos and you and I had our fat pictures and then our fit pictures. And it's like, this is epic. And so I got out. Well, I got out because I really just changed focus and I'm still kind of toe in the water of it, mainly because I feel like I'm this like grandmother, mother figure that I really want the women that show up to compete to really get it for like a personal development, like, yay, me, I'm proud of myself and not lose themselves in the shuffle of it. And that's the sad part to me about.
Yeah. And that's where I want to dig a little bit deeper because I'm just really genuinely curious about this because here you were this average, really what happens to a lot of average women. This is the norm. Like you get married, you have kids, life gets in the way, you're focused on them, you're focused out on your kids. And next thing you know, you've kind of lost yourself, you've gained weight, whatever, that's happened. So now you get healthy and fit and you're thriving and you feel great and amazing. And you go to this first competition and you're proud of yourself, but then you don't place. So now you fall into this spiral of, I'm going to get judged. I'm going to compare. So to me, it almost sounds, I just want to understand it. It almost sounds like it could be detrimental for people. Is that something you recommend for most people? Or is it like a whole nother level? What's your thoughts there?
You know what? Truthfully, I can predict where a person's going to go in the competition world based on who they are to start. And I recognize in my own personality, I have a strong personality and I really didn't put a lot of weight into what other people think of me. And so, but I recognize that I'm a small percentage of most people, and most people are looking for the validation of other people. Because what started to be great was that people would tell me, "Oh my God, Carol, you're so inspiring. You're so amazing." And I actually started to recognize how much people said that. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, thank you, but I don't need it. And then I realized they need it. They're telling me this because in their life, they want somebody to tell them this over and over again, right? So the competition world, like I think if your mind is right and you have a goal, it taught me about goal setting. It taught me about focus. It taught me about, I can accomplish something that I put my mind to with a targeted date. But I just want people to have the right mindset of it. There's amazing showcases, I like to call them, more that people are doing that are empowering women, that aren't about judging. Because I mean, it's ridiculous. How do I know that they like a blonde or a brunette? And I'm going to value myself in that. And the fitness world, that some girls are looking to be plucked and made famous, right? I mean, you and I both know what happens in the covers of magazines and the spreads of magazines and what people are striving for. But I say, if you're a confident person and wants to showcase yourself and give yourself a goal, then go into it for the right mindset. But I've seen so many people, have a body transformation and they're so proud of themselves. And then they say, I'm going to compete. And they become so lost in their self-love that they're picking apart themselves, even though 10 pounds heavier, they were in love with themselves. And I say, if you think, a body brings happiness, just really go to a fitness show, because you're going to find most of the people are sad and not full of self-love.
I'm glad you really shared that, because that's not something that I do. I've always been curious about why people do that. But, to me, it's like, you work so hard for this moment, and then it's the spray tan and then the special bikini and all this like makeup artist and the glam and all this stuff for this moment. And then like, you don't look like that a week later. Like you start eating normal and you don't look that way. And then it's this spiral with a lot of girls, like a spiral of depression and like looking for more validation. So I'm not saying that's the norm or the average, but that's been the experience that I've seen. So that's why I was curious if you'd recommend that for people that are finding themselves and getting fit.
Yeah, I mean, it sadly kind of is the norm and the average. I call it a Halloween costume. It's like, and I celebrated that moment, but people tie themselves to that because then, and I get it, because when you're done a show, all the people that told you were amazing stop telling you that you're amazing. And you want to it's like a science experiment. I wanted to go up to them and say, so can I just ask you, why don't you think I'm amazing now? Just because I'm...
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea socially, but yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So you are so much more than that. And tell me what happens then, because you've had this taste of success and you're not making money from the fitness competitions. You find love in other ways to make money, correct?
Yeah. So what I did is, I really stepped into, obviously I got a divorce. I had to create some income. So I was 40 years old. I hadn't worked. I went and got a job working retail at Lululemon because I was living in Lululemon's. I thought, this is epic. This will be great.
I get a discount. I get cute clothes.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I figured, my brain just thought I'll work my way to head office or something. I didn't really think it too far ahead. I mean, but I realized one of my blessings and my curses is I don't think too much. So it's good and bad. But I had obviously had this body transformation that other women and moms were wanting a part of. And I was giving them advice, things that I had learned that I never understood the importance of protein. I didn't understand portion control. So I really started to monetize that in baby ways, nowhere, Natalie Jill style, but I did a group before groups were actually popular, and I got some people together and I started to monetize that. I was also introduced at the exact same time to network marketing. That's how you and I met, which I love, because I didn't know that there was differences in the industry, but it was a product around weight loss and I was helping people lose weight and I needed money. So I thought, okay, cool. And so I started to do both of those. And really, that was the first time I started into entrepreneurship. And I left Lululemon because I was like, they're telling me I need to get a babysitter when my daughter's sick. I got to work evenings and weekends, and I'm not okay with that. So if this other way to make money maybe is possible, let me try it, and I can always get a crappy retail job if it doesn't work out.
I love that. You're such a great example of like, you do things for you without worrying about like what others think of it, by the way. Cause like with the fitness competition, for example, like lots of people have opinions. You didn't care. You just did it.
Yeah.
Same with network marketing, which I'm a fan of too.
Yep.
But again, you don't care. It's like people stop themselves from going for things because of what other people think. How did that happen with you that you just don't care what people think? Because you really don't. You're one of the few people I know that don't. Give us some of that.
I'm a cold bitch. No, you know what it is? I recognize, and honestly, I do account in the fitness world for this lesson for me because I always say that I built the muscle of not worrying about what people think of me when I started to transform my body and decide to do shows because people started saying to me, well, are you like, are you ever going to eat cake? Are you ever going to drink wine? Are you going to ever have cheese?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I don't know. It just feels good. Like if you don't like it, that's okay. Same with the divorce. Why would you get a divorce? Why this? Why that? And I'm like, because this is my life. You don't have to agree with it, but I'm just kind of following my gut. None of the stuff I know now, I knew then, but I clearly have an ability to just tune into my intuition and follow my heart. And if it doesn't work out right, I recognize that I'll just adjust and go for it. So that
is it intuition and heart, or is it that you have a vision for things?
Well, I didn't have a vision then, but I'll tell you the truth. When it came to network marketing and people, because back then, 2011, there was a lot of, social media was new. So if you were doing something in network marketing on social media, there was two opinions. There was like the people that were doing it, and there was the people that were like bashing it. And I just stepped back and went, like, I get that you have your opinion and that's okay, but how can you possibly tell me how I choose to create an income to take care of my family? And that's all it was. It was like, I get it. But if I'm going to be a personal trainer, which I was, I got to be away from my kids. I got to drive in my car. I got to pay gas. And so, in this industry, in every industry, there's people that do things right. And there's people that do things like cheesy and wrong in every industry. So I think it comes from my parenting, my upbringing, really. My dad is, I tried to be everything opposite to him because I thought he was a boring accountant. Turns out he's just a bad...
Hey, my dad was an accountant too. I just realized we have that in common. That's pretty cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But so my dad's an entrepreneur. So he did things and he stepped outside the norm and outside the box. So I think I just obviously grew up with it, but I just realized like, you can't tell me how to create a future for my family. So I'm just not going to listen to you.
Yeah. And I love that too, because you are another example of, it's like, I've always said, people's opinions don't pay our bills.
Yes.
So, and you just recognize that and live that, and you focus on your family and what you want, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So not only do you get into network marketing and coaching space, but you blow it out of the water like twice. So what was the mindset that it took to do that? Because I think a lot of people would get stuck with, why am I doing this? I'm a mom. They get stuck in their story, right? But you didn't. You got really into what's possible. Did it take work to get there, or was that just natural for you?
You know what? The reason I'm obsessed with network marketing when done right is it is absolutely a business of personal development. So in my first company, I went to an event and I didn't know what I was doing, but I saw somebody cast a vision. Somebody took us through a process of close your eyes and now you're waking up, and what does your room look like, and now who's in the bed with you, and what you're going downstairs, and I can still see what I saw then. It's probably your house. It's like what it's like got a pool, but I could see it, and so it really, that's the thing. I just started surrounding myself,
that's cool,
by accident, quote, of people that believed in visions and dreaming and going for it. And, I started to be around people that had dreams and were doing things. And I really did just constantly think, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, why not? Why not? Yeah.
So Carol, okay, I want to know, because you're so amazing at anything you set your mind to, making that happen. And I want to get into what you're doing now too. But I want to know this. First of all, do you consider yourself successful?
I consider myself successful because I've been able to create a life that is under my design and nobody else dictating.
Right.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
really still don't know what I'm doing.
Humble, humble. Okay. So what do you think now drives you? Like, what is this drive to keep creating more and to doing something bigger each time?
Honestly, I'm driven. I'm driven to help in any way that I can the people that are where I was before. I'm driven to really help shake people. The reason I started my podcast so much more was that I became really sad all the time of how few people believed in themselves, how few people thought that they were capable of worthy. And it just made me sad because I'm just totally normal, average Carol. And I know you and I know you're just Natalie, but to other people, there's stories that we're different or you're different. And so what drives me really is shaking people up to believe that they can have whatever they want in life. If it's the body, go after the body. If it's the show, go after the show. If it's a different relationship, go after it. Like you don't have to do things that don't make you happy in life because society says you have to because this is the way they are. That just, I mean, I'm almost 50. Like life is going way too fast to live a life that isn't guided by your own happiness. So that's what drives me.
Got it. Okay. Have you had any failures?
Well, I mean, I don't know. In my mind, no, because
I love every time I ask that question from somebody successful, they say no. And,
good.
and then I dig. And then it turns out they have had failures. They just view it different than the rest of the world.
100%. I believe with every soul and cell in my body, like I believe that everything happens for a reason. So the moments where I'm like, I mean, 2 weeks ago, asked me if I thought I was a success as a parent. Oh no. I mean, thank God for Uber Eats. Sometimes I forget to feed them. I have those moments of, what am I doing? And am I a failure at this? And but I learned from it. So that is the truth. Like, I think everything's a learning event.
Got it. Okay. Do you have anything that comes to mind? Like even like with network marketing that like you tried, it didn't work. Like how did you keep going? Or is that like just natural for you? Like something doesn't go the way you plan and you just shift? Or do you have any kind of time where you take to reflect and get help? What's your process for that?
Yeah, I mean, I have learned that again, both the blessing and the curse of things in life is that it's all up to us. So when things are like sticky or not going well, or, my business isn't growing the way I want it to, then I have to really step back and look in the mirror and say, well, like what part of that rolls out from me, because it all stems from us. So I can get in complete overwhelm. I can get in complete flight from things that aren't going well. Let's just not talk about that, or let's not, do that. And I'm remarried myself. And I know that, even with all the things lined up, that takes effort. And sometimes that goes to the bottom of the pile, and I'm juggling my kids, a new marriage, multiple businesses. And then, I just really want to be a Walmart cashier and have nothing on my plate, So I am learning to stop. Like I used to just be like, I'm working all the time. I'll catch up. I'll figure it out. I'll get it done. And that never really got anywhere. So I've learned really recently that the less I do, the better. And it's okay to take a step away for a day or an hour, or I'm going away next week with some girls from high school. I haven't had time away with girlfriends for, I think, ever, a long time. And so in the midst of like a massive growth in all these things I'm doing, I'm being okay with unplugging. So it's balancing that self-care, I think.
Got it. And do you have a routine now? Like, how do you start your days? And by the way, I look at you and you just balance so much. I mean, you're a millionaire with network marketing. You still are a mom, of course, to 3 kids. You're a wife. You've got your business with your husband. You started your podcast. Like, how do you balance it all? Do you have a routine with how you start your day?
I'm getting really good at that stuff, actually. I used to be like, I'm so not, but I'm really getting good at that. Because I'll tell you, my kids are teenagers right now. And I heard people talk about how they need more from you than they did when they were little. And I just couldn't buy it because I was like, how can they need more from me than what I'm giving them now? But it's a whole other level. So I am really owning my calendar even more so now that I am done when they come home from school, really more than I ever have. So I do have a morning routine. I do love getting up and exercising. I do like getting up early. even though I don't have to, because I just like getting out of the way because I know something's going to come up and I always feel better. Truthfully, my exercise routine has changed because I got really sick of like, I got to go to the gym and do shoulders today to have shoulders. So I'm going with the flow of things that make me feel good. I journal. I like air quote meditate because I can't sit still very long, but I sit and I just like take some breaths. So all of these things that I tell people to do now that I used to listen to, people like you and other successful people that are living a life of fulfillment. Like that's what drives me. Fulfillment, the money, I really believe it comes when you find happiness. And I've met enough people that have money that aren't happy because they're not getting the balance. So to me, it's just really like, how do I follow my heart that makes me feel good? But every person that was living that was saying like, have a routine and read. And I was like, I don't have time to read. You don't understand. I got to do a plan. I'm not Natalie and nothing's in a funnel and I don't know what this is. And I'd send you voice memos like, how are you doing this? I'm like copy and pasting emails and you're like, oh, Carol, someday. But
wait, you know what? There's a lesson in that though. And I love that. And I don't want to skip over that because you are definitely a ready, fire, and then aim later. So, yes. And I think there's a lot of value in that and a lot of reason that you're successful because of that. You go and you think about your vision and what you want, and then you figure out how later.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't even think that's worth skipping over because that's a big part of why you're so successful.
That I am definitely that girl. I'm definitely the
And I want people to hear that because I think a lot of people really stay stuck in their head on it has to be perfect. I have to create. I have to have all this stuff. And really you don't. You could just start.
You have to just start. And I know actually my peeps in my world know every time I say, listen, I know the things that are coming out of my mouth now are the things that I made fun of people saying a few years ago, but they're really true. It really is important to have a routine and to just like stop worrying about perfection. It really is true.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a couple more questions for you. I want to know, like, who do you surround yourself with besides obviously your husband and your family? Like, who's in your circle? Like, what do you let into your world now?
Yeah, you know what? I'm so blessed, honestly, from network marketing again that I'm around these people that believe different things and are really about supporting each other. And recently, I'm in Canada, just outside of Toronto. I've really worked at getting out of my house and being like face to face with amazing people. I watch you for years and be like, oh God, I guess I got to move to California to have these amazing people, but I started just reaching out and connecting and wanting to meet people and just get to know about them because it raised my energy being around people that were positive and that were striving for more and that were wanting to be in service for others. And so I'm constantly meeting people both on social media, just how you and I met. Like I love it for that. I love supporting and seeing what people are doing, but I really have spent the last kind of year building my home network. So it's like live human interaction with people like that too.
What makes you successful specifically in network marketing? Because there's a lot of people that are not successful in network marketing. What do you think it is?
I can't tell you how many times I quote our first connection constantly about how not to be a douchebag network marketer. And I think it's because I'm not trying to sell anything to anybody. I believe in, our company and our products so much that when somebody has a need, I'm just letting them know about it. No different than sending them to my favorite restaurant or telling them about a body lotion that I have. And I really just care. Like I'm on a mission to educate people how this is a different world, our company in particular, because you can build a brand and not lose yourself in the mission of some of them. Some of the companies you lose yourself in it because you have that company. We're really fortunate to have something. And I really believe that's kind of my wheelhouse is teaching now driven entrepreneurs how to create an extra income stream through this to fund their big dreams.
I think this is good advice, what you're saying right now for anybody, like whether they're network marketing or selling their own product or whatever it is, like you just exude realness and you're very transparent. And I think that's really what it's all about. I think when people try to be a salesperson or a marketer or whatever, that's when it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, and all I kept thinking about is other people. Like when I started, I wanted to get my products paid for, and then I wanted to get money for a cleaning lady. And then I wanted to help other people feel good. And then I wanted enough money to have a cleaning lady every 2 weeks. And then it grew to like, and so then I just wanted to help people with their little piece where people go wrong in network marketing, and maybe in every business necessarily, but it's more prevalent in network marketing, is casting this vision of this big, giant dream of freedom without effort. And I've been working my butt off for 5.5 years, loving it in my own timeline, but working for it. And so
Yeah.
I've just helped a lot of people get a little bit, and a few more, take it a little bit further. And I think people just need to take ownership of what networking really is instead of painting this BS story of what it is, which turns people off.
I do have another big question for you. So if somebody is in a rock bottom, like they're in their own, maybe how you were when you were going through your divorce with the kids and you had gained weight, or maybe just their business has failed right now and they've had a setback, but whatever it is, it's their own personal rock bottom. Are there 3 pieces of advice that you would give them to start shifting that?
I would say one, start have a vision. Like think about how do you want your life to not only look but feel. I'm a fan of vision boards too, but I think that a lot of people put like the body part or the car on it instead of like words of feeling. And I know that started to really help me shift. So have a vision of how do you want this to be? What kind of partner do you want? What kind of business do you want? What kind of mom do you want to be? And read that all the time. And then really look at the people you're around, as hard as that is. And are they living into that life? Because what I know is that why are we taking advice from people unless they're living a life that we want?
Oh, that's big. That's
it
big right
always
there.
blew my mind. I'll repeat it because it actually always blew my mind. When I think about the people that said to me, well, you shouldn't get a divorce, they weren't living a happy marriage.
I love, Carol, no one's brought this up. And I love this, that you just brought this up.
But it's so true, because even when I was changing my body, consider the source. When my body changed, it wasn't the women that were fit that were telling me that was bad. And when I started doing, stepping into entrepreneurship, the people that told me it would fail were all broken, miserable. And so it actually is shocking to me how many people take advice from. But I just say, look at the source. Are they living a life that you want? Are they in a body that you want? Are they in a relationship that you want, or like you see as a beacon or what have you? And because what I know in like people like you and these amazing people, they are first to serve you. They're first to give you advice. They're first to tell you can do it. They're the first to tell you that's awesome and to leap and go for it. So you have to monitor who you're around, and that includes who's in your flippin' social media feed.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Okay, why the podcast that you started now?
Yeah, and I talked about it like 2.5 years ago that I wanted to do a podcast, and it's so cool because, gosh, I can only imagine what it would have been 2.5 years ago. And so it came for 2 ways. One, I wanted an ability to basically bribe awesome people like you to get on and spend an hour with me. That's kind of how I looked at it first. Like, well, if I have a podcast, they're going to have to spend time with me and I could pick their brain. So one of it was just like what I talked about just before, being able to raise my energy by having conversations with people that were doing things that were inspiring me, and that I could pour into myself that other people were just leaping and going. And it was a vehicle for other people that I cared about to plug into and hear the stories of people that have come, very much like yours, from a place of struggle or not believing that they're worthy, and then stepping into doing more. The reason I leapt on it was this amazing guy, Jay Wong, who's helped me launch the podcast, said to me, Carol, why don't you just think of it as a legacy for your kids, a way for your kids to plug in and hear your thoughts and the things you were doing. And so that's what helped me leap quick. That's what helped me not get stuck in what's my photo going to be and what am I going to name it? And what if nobody's my guest? And it's the reason it doesn't matter if my dogs bark in the back or the mailman knocks on the door or the leaf blower goes, because if at the end of the day, it's for me to get my thoughts and feelings out and have conversations with great people that my kids or other people can plug into someday, then that's cool. Whatever it's rated or hits, or I don't even look at any of that, to be honest, because it's just
There's
a way
such a lesson in everything that you've just shared, Carol, because like you have a definite theme, even though you didn't call it a vision at the beginning. It sounds like you always actually have had a vision with different things. You also have this like really unique, calm, focused expectation that things will go in your favor. And I think I don't even know if you realize that. When the reason you said you haven't had failures, or the reason that you haven't had these disappointments lately is because you have this it's almost like a faith or just a belief that it's going to work out the way it's supposed to. And that's why it sounds like you don't care about ratings or any of that anymore because it's just going to work out the way it's supposed to. And I hope people really hear those in your messages, because that is what has made you so successful over and over again. I believe that this belief, and that's so many people, I call them self-imposed stops, have this belief that they will not achieve things, that it will go wrong, that it will not work. And you have the actual opposite.
I do. And you know what? I think it's ingrained in me because I remember once I learned about personal development and you have to believe it. And I started to unpack my dad's life and ask him questions because he leapt and did things that people called him crazy. And I said, well, Dad, did you always just believe you'd be, successful or it would happen? And he's like, I just never thought that I couldn't.
And that's my experience of you.
Right? So crazy.
That's amazing. Carol, where can people find you? Where do you want them to find you?
You can find me, really Instagram, Carol Elizabeth Lifestyle, Facebook, Carol Elizabeth, and carolelizabeth.com. And you can listen at the So Much More show on iTunes. And
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carol.
Anytime.
Thanks for leveling up with us today. Please share this episode if you found it helpful so others can join in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on future shows. And if you would leave me a 5-star review, I appreciate those so much. I read all of them, and it's how I know that I'm giving you information that you find valuable. And come interact with me over on Instagram at Natalie Jill Fit. I read all the direct messages and comments over there. Make it a great day, creating everything from nothing.